2020 Porsche Taycan Turbo, the revolutionary electric powerhouse. The e-hybrid and SUV offerings have long disturbed purists, but emission standards and global demands dictate the latest offerings. The lines of the Taycan are signature Porsche. The LED brake light is a common thread on all the latest Porsche offerings. It pays tribute to the 911s of the 80s and 90s. The quad LED projectors can also be seen across the entire product line. The legendary 918 Spyder spearheaded the electric movement, and when Porsche Corporate left their dominant throne in endurance racing to enter Formula E, the spawn of their effects resulted in the Taycan. Why is it called turbo? Only because it's the fastest. A base 911 Carrera actually has turbos, but it's not indicated on the model name. This is actually called turbo, and there's no signs of snails. If you're confused, there's no need to feel alone. Just understand turbo is synonymous with insane levels of power. In this case, the turbo model has 670 horsepower, and the Turbo S has 750 horsepower, which is good for 0 to 60 times of less than 3 seconds. Nothing you need as a New York City resident. My first encounter with this technical marvel didn't come in New York. It occurred with my attendance at the auto show in Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, at the time, it was roped off like the Defender was in my previous video. So what did I do? I contacted my friends at Porsche of South Shore, and like Bob Barker, they said, "Come on down!" And that's exactly what I did. And for sure, it did not disappoint. On Porsches, the ignition is always located on the left side of the steering wheel, so when you race, you can turn on the car with your left hand, slam the clutch to the floor with your left foot, while the right foot is waiting to hit the throttle and your right hand is on the gear lever. With PDK, the ignition doesn't need to be in any advantageous position for takeoff, but out of tradition and heritage, nostalgia goes a long way for the Porsche-phile. In the midst of tradition, this interior is thoroughly high-tech, while still paying homage to classic Porsche. The expansive UV-protected glass seems like the perfect way to take in the skyscrapers of Manhattan while driving down Park Avenue. The Taycan Turbo is an absolute spaceship. If you look at the shape and even the integration of the slopes in the center console, as well as the electronic dashboard and everything around your surroundings, it feels like a cockpit on a futuristic airplane. Everything about this car is literally 10 years ahead. When you get this car, in 5 years, in 10 years, and even in 2 decades, nothing is going to feel outdated. Everything in this car is going to be up to date, up to par. And with the integration of technology, I predict that a lot of the technology they have here can be updated, as in other EVs that are on the marketplace today. The cup holders, the blemish on a masterfully crafted interior. I wish they'd hide away. Rear seat climate control, a wonderful display that parallels the front interface. As I spent more time with the vehicle, I realized the intuitive mind would figure out the technology as quickly as you'd figure out your iPhone. An owner's manual would render useless. In 10 minutes, you'd have the interface mastered. The response time on the screen is amazing, definitely up to par with the likes of Tesla technologies. Knowing this vehicle has the PDK transmission technology found on the 918 Spyder, I was initially wondering where the flappy paddles were. I learned this PDK is literally low and high gear to leverage the insane power output. The way I know that I can buy a vehicle for myself, being that I'm 6'5", I have to be able to sit in the back seat of the car that I'm interested in sitting in the event that I ever want to be a passenger in my own vehicle. This Taycan Turbo definitely passed the test. So somebody who's 6'5" is sitting right in front of me, and I'm 6'5" myself, I could sit comfortably back here, I can wiggle my feet, I can wiggle my legs, and I'm perfectly comfortable in this back seat. It is absolutely amazing. I have the panoramic views of the sky, and this is a car that I would definitely consider myself. Another interesting feature that I found is that the gauge cluster in this vehicle is touchscreen, just like the dashboard and all the controls that you have in your center console. So watch as I demonstrate. By eliminating the excess hardware from the dashboard, Porsche essentially killed 2 birds with 1 stone. They cleaned up the interior and probably saved money because building screens is inherently cheaper than producing parts. In this case, I show how I open up the trunk lid through a screen. The trunk proves essential for storing battery charging hardware. The trunk closing button is right out of the Panamera parts bin. When I operate the same screen to release the front trunk, a lever reveals a space good enough for a few grocery items. A mandate in 2002 required all cars to feature a standard glow-in-the-dark trunk release lever. In this case, the Porsche has one as well. The unfortunate circumstance is that children actually get trapped in the trunk, and there must be a release lever to save them. The only fluids you'll be adding are brake fluid and windshield washer fluid. Fit and finish are Porsche Precision Perfect. Each leather stitch on the dashboard is evenly spaced, and it seems like the cows that they sourced the leather from never got any stretch marks. There are no offensive gaps between interior and exterior panels. The retail price of this vehicle reaches $180,000 plus when similarly spec'd, so you'd expect the best. This is an amazing vehicle, but is it worth $180,000? From a value standpoint, one could argue Tesla may offer more. The reality is, EV buyers of the car own other Porsches and probably have other Teslas. To get an allocation is an exercise of the newest evolution and revolution of the Porsche brand. Thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing.